Hi guys, I brought a story from China with me today. I don't know if you remember or not, but we read the story called The Seven Chinese Sisters at school a while ago, and this book is called The Seven Chinese Brothers by Margaret Mahy and illustrated, or the pictures are done by Jean and Mao Xin Sing. Let's read this story from China. Once upon a time, when Qin Shi Huang was emperor of all of China, 7 remarkable brothers lived together on a beautiful hillside. They walked alike, and they talked alike. They even looked so much alike that it was hard to tell one brother from the other brother next to him. All the same, each brother had something special about him. Each brother had one amazing power that was all his own. First brother's amazing ears could hear a fly sneeze from 100 miles away, while second brother's amazing eyes could look right across the 100 miles and see the fly sitting on the Great Wall of China, sneezing and feeling very sorry for itself. The third brother was a man of unusual strength. He could walk across China in a straight line, lifting up any mountains that got in his way, and putting them carefully back behind him. Fourth brother was strong too, for he had bones of iron that would not break, buckle, or bend. Fifth brother had legs that could grow as tall and thick as tree trunks, while the sixth brother never ever became too hot, no matter how hard he worked under the summer sun. As for the seventh brother, he was the baby of the family, and all of his 6 older brothers tried to keep him smiling and happy, for he was the youngest brother, and when he was unhappy, he wept great big warm salt tears, and each tear was large enough to drown an entire village. The 7 brothers lived very happily together. The 7 brothers lived very happily together, and the 7th brother never once had anything to cry about. But one day, as they worked on their hillside, the first brother lifted his head with his amazing ears on either side of it, and he said, "I can hear such moaning and groaning 100 miles away by the Great Wall of China. Second brother, take a look and tell me what all the trouble is about." Second brother turned his far-seeing eyes toward the Great Wall. "Ay-ya!" he cried. "There is an enormous hole in the Great Wall of China. I see 100 poor men working day and night and day, and they all look so tired and so weak. Perhaps they are not allowed to sleep or to eat until the hole in the Great Wall of China is repaired." "Ay-ya! I can't bear it!" cried the 7th brother, who was always hungry himself. He looked as if he might begin to cry in sympathy with the poor, hard-working men. "Don't cry," said the third brother quickly. "I'll go and I'll help them." And off he went as quickly as he could, and he got there in half a minute or less, no more. He set to work at once, tossing the great stones from one hand to the other as if they were feathers. And by the time darkness came, the hole was completely filled, and the third brother lay down to take a nap. But when the emperor heard that a single man had repaired the hole in one afternoon, he was not at all grateful. Indeed, he looked very worried. "A man as powerful as that is more trouble than he is worth," thought the emperor to himself. "Strong men can be very useful to an emperor, but this one is too strong. One army may not be enough to catch him. I had better send 2. When the third brother woke up from his nap, he found himself surrounded by 2 armies. "By the command of the celestial emperor, whose face is more dazzling than the rising sun, You are to be executed in the morning, proclaimed the generals of the two armies. Take the prisoner to the palace of the emperor, they ordered. When he heard this, the third brother, he burst into tears. 100 miles away on a beautiful hillside, first brother heard the third brother crying. Oh, third brother must be in trouble, he exclaimed. Second brother looked far into the distance. Yeah! Third brother has been taken to the palace, and he's surrounded by two armies, and they are going to execute him in the morning. No wonder he's crying. Don't worry, cried the fourth brother, who saw the seventh brother was about to cry too. I will change places with him. The celestial emperor, whose face is more dazzling than the rising sun, can try cutting my head off as many times as he likes. Perhaps that will make him feel better. And off he went as quickly as he could, and he got there in a half a minute, less than no time. He sneaked in between the two armies to the third brother, who was wide awake and waiting for him. So the third brother went home, and the fourth brother took his place. All the next day, the officers of the two armies tried over and over again to behead the fourth brother, but sword after sword bent and broke on his bones of iron. And in the end, they were forced to confess to the mighty emperor, whose whisper was like the rumble of thunder, that they simply could not behead their prisoner. A man with bones of iron, roared the mighty emperor. Drown him in the deep sea tomorrow. Jeez. When the fourth brother heard that he was to be drowned, he became very upset. Bones of iron won't bend or buckle or break, but they will sink, he thought to himself, and he burst into tears. 100 miles away on the beautiful hillside, first brother heard fourth brother begin to cry. Fourth brother is crying, he said. Second brother looked into the distance, far beyond the hills, and said, yeah! Tomorrow morning, they're going to drown fourth brother. No wonder he is crying. Don't worry, fifth brother interrupted. I will change places with him. The mighty emperor, whose whisper is like the rumble of thunder, can try to drown me as many times as he likes. Perhaps that might make him feel better. And off he went as quickly as he could, and he got there in half a minute, less than no time. He tiptoed past the guards to the fourth brother, who was awake and waiting for him. Swiftly they switched places, and the fourth brother went home. All the next day, the soldiers of the two armies tried to drown the fifth brother. They threw him into the deep sea, but his legs grew so quickly the water only came up to his knees. They tried throwing him into the deeper water, but the deep, deep water only reached as far as his waist. Finally, they threw him into the deepest part of the sea, but even the deepest part of the sea only came up to his neck. Waves broke under his chin. Ah, said the fifth brother, smiling happily. How lovely and how cool is the deepest seawater of all. He is more dangerous than I imagined, muttered the splendid emperor, whose merest glance was like a flash of lightning. He won't drown, but he might burn. Into the fire with him. Tomorrow morning, he commanded. When he was told his fate, fifth brother burst into tears. Far away on the beautiful hillside, the first brother heard the fifth brother's cries, and second brother looked right across 100 miles to the Great Wall of China. Yeah! He cried. Tomorrow morning they're going to burn fifth brother alive. No wonder he is crying. Don't worry, said the sixth brother, afraid that seventh brother might begin to cry too. I will take his place. The splendid emperor, whose merest glance is like a flash of lightning, can bake me all day long if he likes, he said, with a shiver. Perhaps that will make him feel better. Off he went as quickly as he could, and he got there in half a minute, less than no time. He tiptoed between the two armies and found fifth brother, who was awake and waiting for him. So fifth brother went home, and sixth brother took his place. The next day the two armies ran backwards and forwards, bringing kindling wood, brushwood, and driftwood, and bundles of dried grass. They built such a fire that the smoke from it drifted from one end of China to the other. But the sixth brother never ever felt too hot. Basking in the heat of the blaze, he sighed with happiness. How kind of the noble emperor to let me warm myself in his very own fire, he cried. The noble emperor, whose slightest frown made the land shake like an earthquake, was furious. "Send for the royal archers," he ordered. "In the morning we will shoot this man full of arrows." And the seventh brother, or the sixth brother, burst into tears. Over on the beautiful hillside, first brother heard the sixth brother crying. Second brother, he asked, "What do you see?" "Ayah!" cried the second brother. "Tomorrow morning they are going to shoot sixth brother full of arrows." The brothers looked at each other. "There is nothing for it," said the first brother. "We cannot leave sixth brother to die alone. We will all go to the noble emperor, whose slightest frown makes the land shake like an earthquake. He can shoot arrows through all of us. At least we will be together." The brothers started their journey to the palace, but the poor seventh brother was so upset that he couldn't help crying just a little, and his first tear was as big as the longest river in China rolled into a single drop, and his second tear was as big as the second longest river in China, and both tears were as salty as the sea. A great ocean of warm salt water swept down the road ahead of the brothers. It swept on for 100 miles. Seventh brother's first tear swept one army north, and his second tear swept the other army south. As for the emperor, he was tossed so high and so far that he is still trying to return to his palace. Seventh brother's flood of tears swept over the Great Wall of China, flowed all the way into the Yellow Sea, and all the way back again in half a minute, less than no time. Sixth brother was free. He hurried back up the road while his 6 wonderful brothers hurried down the road, and they were reunited at the Great Wall. "Fish!" cried the 5th brother. The wave had washed hundreds of glistening fish ashore, and they were flopping and flapping, piled all the way up to his knees. "Wood!" cried the 3rd brother, gathering a forest to start a fire. 4th brother snapped his iron finger and his iron thumb, and a spark leaped out and set the fire blazing and crackling. "Fire!" he cried, laughing. "Oh, I'm so hungry," said the 7th brother. "Now that we are all together again, we can have dinner and forget our troubles. I promise never to cry again unless I absolutely must." So the 7 Chinese brothers sat themselves down around the warm fire and feasted on delicious fried fish. For after such a worrying week, they were all very, very hungry. Wow, that story had lots and lots of things that happened in it. Some of those things were kind of scary, weren't they? But the brothers were all able to protect each other with all of their special special talents. I wonder what your very, very special talent is. It might be fun for you to draw a picture of yourself using your very, very special talent to fix a problem for somebody else. I sure would love to see these pictures. Okay, thanks, friends.